Cinema Worms.
Discussing everything from Grima Wormtongue to the Shy Halud. Oh, I've been so excited to talk about this film. Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma. Has there ever been a better title for a film? I would argue, no. Fight me. Come and find me and fight me in the street. Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma is a American slasher film written and directed by Jane Schonbrunn, who also wrote and directed 2021's We're All Going to the World's Fair and 2024's I Saw the TV Glow. And it stars Hannah Inbinder and Gillian Anderson, amongst others. The film follows a queer, almost 30... She's 29. I will call her almost 30. Apologies. Filmmaker Chris Williams, who's played by Inbinder, who is hired to direct a new installment of this slasher franchise, Camp Miasma, right? And she eventually becomes fixated on casting the actress Billy Presley, who's played by Gillian Anderson, now in her 60s, who was the final girl in the original film. If you're listening to this, you probably are a Teenage Sex and Death at Camp Miasma fan or a Jane Schonbrunn fan, but you, if you're not and you haven't heard of this before, maybe you don't know what a final girl is in a slasher film. A final girl is something quite specific. It is usually the girl who is left at the end, who hasn't been murdered when everybody else has. She manages to outwit the killer in some way. Often she is still a virgin, or there's some purity element going on, and this film kind of takes all of this, like, sex and death and violence and teenagehood and angst and kind of curls into a big ball. Now, Chris, as a filmmaker, understands academically all of the problems inherent in these original films, right? She's like very aware that the original franchise is homophobic and transphobic and stuff, and she wants to avoid or subvert those tropes to create a more nuanced and interesting take, but at the same time, she is super obsessed with the original versions. Now, I love a slasher film, and I find a gore trope myself, and also I'm a Gillian Anderson fan, so I'm kind of the target audience here, but I would like to get your thoughts first on the premise and the plot before we move on to other parts.
What about him?
I mean, like, are you a slasher fan?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know.
You're a horror fan, but are you a slasher fan?
Probably not specifically, but I'm sure I've seen slashers. I couldn't think of one.
Scream?
Never seen Scream.
Really?
Yeah.
Scream is like the first one that like really sends up. It's like meta, it's self-aware, which made it like Nightmare on Elm Street.
Never seen that. Never seen Halloween or whatever.
Oh, okay, so maybe you're not a fan of slasher films. Oh, well, I guess would you... Yeah, anything that has like a masked or somehow disguised killer like hunting people down and killing them, that's kind of a slasher.
Yeah, and you know, it's interesting because this film is about a slasher, like a movie within a movie. So the slasher is the movie within the movie. But it itself is not exactly a slasher until, you know, certain things happen. You're like, oh, meta. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily like drawn to slashers if I've not been watching all of these classic films. But I do like horror, and I like the idea of the way violence can be utilized to be cathartic in this sort of
that's a good point.
Metaphorical way, and horror brings to light inner demons and whatnot in a very emotionally compelling and exciting way.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that the film appreciates that.
Yeah, it does. It sort of goes from, and obviously we're trying to avoid spoilers here, but it does feel like it goes from a very academic treatment of the original franchise, hopefully the new installment that Chris wants to do, the distance between those two, and then the things that she herself thinks and feels about them, and we end up becoming more psychological and emotional about those things and seeing them with a new perspective, with the help of Billy Presley. Now, the cinematography is something that I want to talk about here because a lot of the scenes have these painted backgrounds, which are really nice. It's a very kind of otherworldly appearance. I'm loath to use the word liminal because I've been writing about that a lot lately, and it just sort of starts bleeding into everything. But it does...
Remember we were at a book event and someone used the word liminal, and then someone we know shouted something about the word liminal that I didn't quite
It was
catch.
a liminal bingo, yeah. I think they were just doing a bingo for words.
Oh, because I was like, do they hate the word liminal?
No, they were
or are
bingoing.
they super excited by the word liminal?
Yes,
Okay.
the latter.
I was listening to a Liminal playlist today. Go ahead.
Was it for backgrounds?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Ah, okay. Wow, I know you so well. No, Teenage Sex and Death. I do feel like it occupies a kind of liminal space between the real world and then the world of the Camp Miasma franchise. And the painted backgrounds keep reminding us that the film is sort of somewhat meta, and it's blurring the lines between this thing that you once loved and you maybe still do, even while you're aware of its flaws and you're trying to remake it into something new and fresh and more inclusive. So I think an interesting question to ask here is because if you've seen I Saw the TV Glow, you'll understand that there's some thematic differences in the way that this film does things and the way that that film does things. So, do you prefer Istjj, I Saw the TV Glow, or Tsadacum? Teenage Sex and Death. I mean, yes, that's what they used to call them.
I was going to poke Linz for that ridiculous acronym. Is that an acronym?
It's an initialism because it
I
doesn't
knew you
spell
were
a
going to say
word.
that. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a horrible pedantic
No, it's good. That's
grammar Nazi. I'm sorry.
good. But so tajism is in a word.
Does it sound like a word?
I prefer. Can you show me the letters?
Yeah.
I prefer to sadism. To isidj.
I am so pleased and honored that you attempted it,
Yeah.
regardless of the fact that it's ridiculous.
I thought this was a further honing of Jane Schoenberg's skills as a filmmaker, trying to do something like more sort of out there and ambitious and further stylized, although there are a lot of similarities in terms of like thematically, like dealing with transness, dealing with this sort of like disassociation. I feel like dissociation describes
That's such a good watchword for both of these, actually. Yeah.
like the emotionally traumatic experience either of perhaps the filmmaker being herself in trans identity, or just what she's experienced in the world, the way she relates to film and TV as where she can actually exist, but then being disassociated from her real life. So then film becomes this like a sort of more real than real life, which is what a lot of these films, both of these films, I haven't seen the first one, I think you did,
Yes.
address.
No, I saw the TV Glow.
No, the one before that.
Oh, I didn't see We Were Going to the World's Fair. It was only very briefly out. Also, I could be wrong. The Wikipedia uses they, them pronouns for Jane, but I'm not sure what they prefer.
I have never looked up their pronouns.
Okay. Well, let's use
Shame
they
on me.
just to be sure.
Well, just use Jane's name. So Jane Schoenberg's doing something very unique and interesting with these films.
Yes.
And has a very distinctive vision and voice. Now, I can talk about how we like that or not. Yes, but I don't want to jump on anything else you wanted to say.
No, I mean, firstly, I want to give you a little kudos because you clocked Eva Victor from Sorry Baby fame.
Yes, I
and
did. Now, Eva is a they, them, and I knew that.
Well, I was like,
I love Eva.
how can you know who that person is? Because they've got different hair and makeup on. I'm so face blind, it's actually ridiculous.
I drew Eva in my sketchbook.
And it was good. Well done.
Thank you.
No, so I really enjoyed I Saw the TV Glow, but I feel like I was missing something because I feel like it just didn't hit me in the exact same way. I feel like this film, I was maybe more of the target audience for that. Someone who also grew up watching a lot of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, watching a lot of these slasher films as a kid, like, I definitely understand what was kind of being aimed at here. I found it was unexpectedly funny. I knew it was going to be a little bit comedic coming in, but I was not expecting it to be as funny as it was. It was genuinely laugh out loud hilarious. So I really like that because it's offset between the hilarity, the comedy, and then on the other side there's the transgression and the horror. And then sometimes the two combine, but then there's also this poignancy and this like continual attempt to reach something deep inside you and to let it out. Sometimes you don't even know what it is you're searching for and how deep it is at the bottom of something, and how deep you might have to go to get it. And sometimes it's just really difficult to unlock that thing when you have kept a door locked for so long. So all of these things really appeal to me, and I agree, like, they're continually improving as a filmmaker. I'm so excited to see. They are doing a couple of projects at the moment, so I'm really excited to see what they're doing next. But this was really good. I'm going to be telling everybody, like, I love this film. It's one of my tops of the year.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I really, that's how
Oh.
much I like. I actually think I've been playing it down. I was playing it cool because I didn't want you to know. But yeah, I mean, we've seen a ton of good films this year already, and we're going to a bunch at the film festival, but I really, really enjoyed this one. It hit me just right. It's the kind of thing that I think I could watch again and again and still laugh at all the jokes because they just were just incredibly situationally funny.
Yeah, that I'm so glad. And I think a lot of people will in our audience, man, it was just like the target
Oh, we
audience.
were all like
Oh my
fangirling. Yeah,
God.
all of us. There was like, what, maybe like 50 people in there. And we were all like, we're here to just adore this film and you. This is great.
So I'll offer another perspective. I think objectively it is really, really strong and just like the most clear, unique vision that I really, really enjoy what the filmmaker's doing here. Um, I enjoyed it. Like I said, things I enjoy their films. It's just they're not going to get on my list of favorite films of the year, even though I really would want them to. And that's not even an objective thing. It's a subjective thing about maybe what I connect to in film. And this more so was engaging for me than I saw the TV Glow. And I was trying to articulate why it's like it has all the ingredients of something I would be completely obsessed with, but I fall short of being obsessed, or anything beyond sort of like I'm enjoying this in the moment. Like there are moments where I'm like, oh, I'm drawn in, and that was like really interesting, but emotionally I have a hard time getting into it, and that might be stylistically, even though I like artifice, like and violence and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff in films. Something about the way they make films keeps me at a distance. I don't know what it is. Is it plotting, and the way conversations unfold,
Mm.
um,
Okay.
the way we see character motivations, the way like music and the stylized artificial setting is used. All those things can work, but in the way that it's done in the film, I don't know, somehow it keeps me at a distance. It's like more that emotional distance where there are some more tangible and visceral scenes and unnerving, scary scenes that drew me in, but I don't know. Something I don't particularly care about is maybe this invented nostalgia.
Oh, see, I really like that.
Yeah.
I
So,
really like. So, like, I think part of this is I quite that I do like that. I think it's really inventive and interesting, and it's creating something that invites you in to have a nostalgia. It's like hauntology, right? It's like
mm,
you're yearning for a future that never happened, kind of thing. So you're yearning for these things that never happened. But because I was so obsessed with Buffy as a kid, to me, is a perfect representation of one of these things because we all live vicariously through it. It was like a way of escaping like ourselves, and for me, like, you know, escaping my very small town and the way that I felt quite trapped and repressed and my own queerness and longing to be something more and longing to be in someone else's small town but saving the world, you know, every week or every year. It was just the stakes were higher, but also the same. It was life or death, but different. It was life and death that mattered rather than your own life and death, which often didn't feel like it mattered. And there's something there that, like, it speaks to that particular generation. I think if you are obsessed with some kind of SFF show at a certain formative point in your life, then whatever it is, you will transpose it onto this. It'll be like, oh God, I remember how that made me feel. It made me feel like I could be something that mattered, something more than myself, that I could step outside of this and I could, you know, kind of role play in some way, in a way that would make me forget who I am when I'm not doing this.
hmm. And I will say, especially, thank you for sharing that. And that articulates, I think, why a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people love their work.
Yeah,
So thank
that's
you
what
for
I think is the
explaining it.
big draw. I think.
The film does get very interesting for me, particularly in the last third. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll leave it at that. But I think you said a lot of interesting things. We'd love to hear thoughts from people who have seen the film and why you do or don't love Jane Schoenbrun's work.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about Tony, which I saw at our local cinema and you did not. And I have to say this just because it's so strange. It was a secret screening, right? So you don't know necessarily what it's going to be. I had a pretty good suspicion that it was going to be Tony. It also could have been a couple of other things, but I thought that was the most likely one. But when I walked in, they were handing out free Nando's food. And I thought to myself, okay, well, I know he was he was heavily involved in the kitchen side of, but that seems like a bit of an ironic twist, and they never explained it. And to the best of my knowledge, like Nando's has not sponsored this. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, I got a pastel de nata. It was delicious. It was very nicely done. I will not complain.
They're in league with Nando's, obviously.
It's who can say why? It's just random Nando's. Say that 20 times. So Tony is an American biopic. It's sort of touted as a comedy drama, which I think it kind of is in a lot of ways. Co-written and directed by Matt Johnson, who also directed 2023's Blackberry, a film I remember not liking at all one bit, but I don't actually remember what happened in it, really. As well as 2025's Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie, which I would quite like to see because that's an interesting title. The plot is based on Anthony Bourdain's early years working in Provincetown in Massachusetts. He featured stories about this in his memoir Kitchen Confidential, which was published in 2000. So the film Tony begins with a quote from Bourdain describing himself at this young age. He's maybe 18 at this point, or yeah, he's graduated high school. He's supposed to be going off to college, and the quote is telling. I cannot paraphrase it precisely, but essentially selfish, narcissistic, insecure, and deeply compulsive liar, Tony has applied for a writing fellowship, and he feels that he's done enough to hoodwink the old guy judges into getting it, but trouble strikes when he gets a call rejecting him at the start of the film. So, not one to work through his feelings in, like, healthy ways at all, Tony decides to go to Provincetown to find this girl that he used to have a crush on in high school, who is played by Emilia Jones, who was in Cat Person. But of course, Tony's an asshole, and he can't stop lying and self-aggrandizing, and things inevitably spiral. Antonio Banderas is just lovely as the chef in the local restaurant who genuinely loves his food, and he waxes lyrical about the old ways, and he agrees to let Tony wash dishes for the restaurant and sleep there, but only in a hammock on the porch like a dog. That's all he deserves. And Leo Woodall is in it for most of the film, is a swaggering, womanizing cook who befriends Tony, and encourages all his worst impulses, let me say. Now, I would recommend that you would see. I think you would like this film. I know you were busy at the time, but are you keen to see it? What would you like to know about this film?
I love when you ask me what would I like to know. Probably everything, but also nothing. But also I'm excited that you enjoyed it. I like the actors in it. I forget the main guy's name, but I've seen him in that.
It's Dominic Sessa.
What was that Christmas movie with... I'm literally forgetting everyone's name, but they got nominated for Oscars and whatnot. He was really good in it as a student. And
The Holdovers.
Yeah, that's it.
I never saw
literally,
that.
I was like, well, if I try to name a single person involved...
You just said that Christmas movie, and the first thing I thought of was Christmas Prince,
Jesus,
I'll tell you, to be
brain.
honest. And then as soon as she said it won awards, I was like, it couldn't be Christmas Prince. It could never.
Yeah, so I liked him in that, and I've been seeing Leo Woodall in things for a while now, and I'm only just realizing now, just like he's a really good actor.
He's good. He does tend
like
to play
work.
very similar characters a lot of the time, but he is good. He does convey a lot of things. He's very good at conveying something without actually speaking, which he does a fair bit in this film, working through some quite complex emotions.
Yeah. We recorded about a film I saw that you didn't see called Tuner. And I didn't end up releasing that because, I don't know, I felt like I rambled in that one, and then it just sort of didn't end up releasing it. I would like to plug that. Another young white man with a lot of promise, but it's a sort of like a personal story, very grounded, but also emotive and gritty. I liked it a lot. So I'll plug that here. And I want to see Tony.
Question. How are you plugging something if you didn't release it?
I'm plugging the film, not our episode,
which
does not exist because I never released it.
That's Why don't you release it?
We've had a couple things that have not been released.
Unreleased material, archival material. Okay, tell me you made like a bunch of fish jokes, because that's what I would have done.
I didn't make a single joke, and also
It's like you hate joy.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't do that film justice, but I mean, it's the kind of thing I'd enjoy, and Tony seems like something I'd enjoy. I think I was kind of hesitant to see it because I was stressed about writing, but also, and getting some work done. Also, the fact that Anthony Bourdain committed suicide. There's a sad pallor over the idea of the film.
I mean, it is, and there's a certain, you see kind of the person that Tony is, even when he is trying to do something like better or well. There's still kind of a darkness in him, and an anger, that made me feel quite sorry for him. I did enjoy this film. I do think it's a good film. To me, it wasn't one of the best versions of something like this that I've seen. I think I wanted a little bit more, but then on the other hand, this, I don't know how exactly truthful, but if it was drawn from his memoir, it must have been relatively. Maybe it's just because it wasn't, so stylized, or maybe they didn't change. I don't know, I haven't really looked into that, but there was something about it that just, he's a hard guy to like at this point in his life, because he is just this really awful little asshole teenager, and he just compulsively lies to everybody all the time, and makes like the worst choice in every situation, and you don't want to be around this guy. He's really irritating, but at the same time you can see this kind of deep yearning in him to be something more than he is, to be something more than where he's from, and he has a curiosity to learn as well. And you can kind of see the seeds of that being set here, that will obviously like have blossomed through the rest of his life, that he was and became interested in, okay, like, how does this get made? What are the old recipes? How do you basically take it from,
What, raw ingredients to food?
I was gonna say I was gonna say chopping board to table, but I couldn't think of the word for chopping board.
From
I'm tired.
Knife. Knife to mouth.
From knife to mouth.
But not knife on mouth.
Oh, you shouldn't do knife on mouth. That's not
the
good.
blank look in your eyes when you were trying
to think of the word chopping board. I'm just real tired, I guess.
Yeah. Final point. I definitely was more when you said afterwards, not in this recording, that he spends so much of the film lying. I was like, I want to see it.
Oh my god, it's all of it. Like, all of it, to the point where I just wanted to, at one point, I actually wanted to sigh. I was resisting the urge to, like, nose pinch, which is not something I do unless I'm really aggravated, but I was feeling it, like my hand was creeping up there, because bite it yourself, get a grip of yourself, pull yourself together, stop lying, everybody. Don't you see this is just making things worse? But it was interesting. It's shot nicely. You get to see the beach and stuff. It's beautiful. It made me want to go to Provincetown, actually, and it really made me want to eat some good seafood, because you get a lot of seafood in this film, a lot of tasty looking seafood.
I will see it. Thank you.
So if you're hungry, maybe you should eat before you go see this film, because you're gonna be hungrier. But I would recommend Tony, and I would also probably recommend reading the memoir as well, because I've heard it's very good.